Hey, what's up? Jeff Cohn here with some really exciting guests. I am the host of the Team Building Podcast. We bring top team leaders, broker owners, and thought leaders from across the country. We have the hosts of REI Huddle podcast with us today. And this podcast episode is going to be going out to both the Team Building Podcast and Real Estate Investor Podcast guests. Thank you guys so much for being here, and Mr. Gary Boomershine and Robert Syfert.
Thanks. Awesome. Super excited. Yeah, super excited, Jeff. Amazing. Excited. And also this will be going out to our realestateinvestor.com Huddle podcast. And so welcome all of you. Super excited. Gosh, Jeff, this started a couple of years ago. This venture with you, and been to multiple events with you and also in multiple masterminds. I'm super excited about today's show. Been looking forward to this for probably 6 weeks since we came together saying this is a must record, especially on this new era of real estate and how to basically thrive and survive in this current market.
Exactly. Yep. Creating that hybrid agent that Doug loves to talk about, the future agent going to be investing and working with your traditional residential deals. Robert, I know we've had you on the show in the past. Welcome back. How you doing today?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. It's I live in the dream, right? I live where there's palm trees and sunshine every day, so I don't have to deal with the snow I used to have to deal with. So it's always an exciting day and always a pleasure to be on with you, man.
Well, it's great to have both of you. It's funny, all three of us could talk for 12 hours and enjoy hearing our own voices. So we will see how we can all pack the most content possible into 25 minutes and melt the faces of those that are listening. So let's get right into content. We have both of you coming to speak as keynote speakers on investing with Mr. Clint Bartlett as well at our Team Building Summit in May. So if you guys haven't picked up a ticket for the Team Building Summit, you want to see Gary Boomershine in person, and Robert, and I said Syfert before, I think it's Syfert.
It's Syfert, you said Syfert.
Oh, I got it wrong. Okay, Syfert, and I said Syfert. Either way, Robert's going to be there.
Yep.
Clint Bartlett's going to be there and their whole leadership team. So if you haven't picked up tickets for the Team Building Summit, this event will be like none other you've ever attended. It's 3 days, 2 full days, and then an evening gathering the night before the event starts. You can find all the information out about the event on our Eventbrite page. Just go out to eliterealestatesystems.com and click on events, or go to the teambuildingsummit.com website. You can buy tickets there. Hope to see you guys there, and we're excited to have Gary and Robert speaking at that event. So let's bring some massive value. I think the first thing we could get into today is downloading for our audience the different types of products that Real Estate Investor offers. And then we can discuss those products individually to showcase the importance for residential real estate agents that are wanting to be that hybrid agent in taking advantage of the investor products that are out there. So I'll let you guys take it away.
Nice. Here, I'll start and throw out some things since you brought up our stuff. Really, coming to the root of it all, especially on the agent side too, it all starts with good data. Everything starts there, right? Because what you're feeding your engine that you're going to be following up on all comes from who those people are. So if you're trying to just hit everyone, you're actually speaking to no one, and you're going after all the wrong people. So one of the tools we have is a list stacking software that literally helps you organize all that data and make sure that you're going after the right people. So that's the place you would start, right? Next to that, the next most important thing is following up. Like, how are you going to convert leads into money? Well, everyone thinks that, they call me and I make money. And that happens sometimes. I think Gary will give you a better information on this on the data side. I think it's called like the blue dove, or I forgot the term, but there's a cool term we use for that, which is that's once in a hundreds of.
What is it, Gary? They say even a blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes, right?
There you go. I like that.
Yeah, you've got to, data is king. If we actually look at the big tech companies, Amazon, what is Amazon? A lot of people think Amazon, is a shopping place. Amazon is a data company. The data is king. And, one thing I'll add to what we do, we are the largest marketer in the real estate niche for both agents and investors. We primarily focused historically over the last decade on investors. But as an example, we've done over 70 million pieces of direct mail and probably the highest response rates on getting the seller and in some cases the buyer, but it's the off-market, what we call invisible sellers. These are invisible to our competition to pick up the phone and engage with us. And we've been doing it for a very long time, because at the end of the day, if we're not talking to people, if we're not building that relationship and building trust and then coming up with a solution for the seller, then we have no business. And so, but it all does come back to the data.
Yeah.
And so it is a, historically, real estate has been 10 years behind most other industries. And so what Robert and I have done, merging our businesses this last 18 months, is really to have a totally new experience in how to do things that nobody else can. And what we have found is that on the agent side, we've got some of the biggest teams in the country. And I actually was in New York City about 2 years ago for radio and TV experts, because we had a couple of customers that said, hey, you guys should come here. And they were talking about us being their secret weapon. And what I found is that it's really, how do we compete against these iBuyer networks? And so a lot of investors, our agents, have been coming to us as a method to compete against the iBuyer play in a whole new way. And not only finding great listings, but also being able to find properties to purchase themselves for their own portfolio.
I love it. Gary, the thing I found fascinating a year or so ago in Tulum when you were presenting, and if for those that didn't catch it, they've sent out 17 million postcards. 70 million postcards. The number that's interesting to me that you shared as a follow-up to that was that they've determined that around 70% of those 70 million pieces ended up listing traditionally on the market, or showed an interest in listing their homes traditionally on the market versus selling to an investor as a flip or a wholesale or a wholesale. And so that to me was so fascinating. And that's where that hybrid agent role plays such a major part in lead acquisition for an agent that can represent both sides and wear both of those hats. I recently had a guest on the show who's the owner of TPMCO, the personal marketing company, and they send out postcards, and he found it very fascinating. Within literally 30 days of me interviewing him, he received a postcard from Amazon and a postcard from Google. So these huge tech companies that you would think, oh, everything's online, I don't need to have anything in print, are sending him things in paper. And I do believe it's a miss on the behalf of a lot of marketing companies right now, that they think they can get away with everything just digital, but mail still works.
It will always work.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a computer science engineer. I was at Accenture, one of the largest technology consulting firms in the world. And I did 4 technology software companies, one that's now part of a $6 billion division of IBM. And people always say, Gary, you're a software Silicon Valley guy. Why direct mail? And it's like, it's not about direct mail. It's about targeting off-market sellers. On-market sellers are typically, on the MLS or bank-owned foreclosures or HUD properties. And how do we get really good at going to off-market? And direct mail is just one method. And there's some secret sauce. Just saying I'm going to do direct mail, it doesn't work that way. It is technology. It is the right software. And Robert can walk through some of the keys, but it's the right software. It's also the right resources. And it all starts with the data. You have to have the right properties. We use what's called data stacking in a way that, most people, when they do direct mail, they're wasting about 90% of their money going after the wrong properties at the wrong time. And so it's finding the right properties and then building a relationship. And then the follow-up system. And so we actually bring under our umbrella, realestateinvestor.com, we bring all of that unique, innovative software technology that allows you to not only automate the marketing, but also the phone work, the ISAs, which is absolutely critical, and then the automated multi-channel follow-up of text message, ringless voicemail, email, and follow-up letters and packages and things like that. So we've done it in a unique way, and I would say about 20% of our client base are top producing agents that realize that to survive, they need to basically go after a new niche that they've never even targeted before.
100%. You mentioned, being able to go after these ghost sellers that haven't put their houses on the market yet. It's obviously illegal for a realtor to go after a listing that's already listed on the MLS with a licensed real estate agent. And so we have to go to other places to generate seller leads that aren't actively listed with somebody. I think it's fascinating to me as we dig into data and then marry data with this analog postcard talking about predictable analytics. And so I'd love for Robert, if you can, for a minute to speak to the skip tracing strategy and defining your avatar, exactly the type of property you want to go into. What is the predictable analytic component of selecting the data so you're not wasting 90% of your postcards, like Gary was saying, on the wrong people? And in your response, as those that listen, this isn't just for investors, this is for your traditional listing leads as well.
Yeah, so it applies to both, right? So list stacking applies to both, and going after, to your point, figuring out what that avatar is of who you want, right? So that is like, what is that homeowner? What's their age range? What is the property that you like to list or that you like to buy, right? It's no different. The process is do that. Identify that avatar, identify that property, the one that you want to always be listing. What's the price range? What's the age range of that owner typically? And if you don't have any of that, get with other listing agents or other investors who are buying and find out what's that thing. If you do both, you can broaden this a little bit, right? And it's more on the property. Then the thing that you have to do to get the right analytics is, what are the problems that homeowner is going to have that would make them want to list their house and or sell their house at a discount, right? So on the investor side, you have things like they just went through a divorce. They have high equity in their home. It's a vacant property. They don't live in it. It's an absentee, probably a rental, or they're a landlord of some sort. It is, a code violation on the house they just got notified with. It is a tax default. It is a foreclosure notice, list pendants, right? So you can think of what are all those pain points, right? And the same thing on the listing side. Some of those may reference to a listing too, but on the listing side, you may have things like, they change of address. They're a divorce too, most likely would fit into that category, because they're going to most likely need to sell, and they might have a new house, especially if you're targeting newer houses that went through a divorce, right? So think of all those points of pain, pleasure, whatever they are, that identify with that avatar. The house is really the avatar. The person behind the house is part of the avatar, right? And so once you clearly define those, then the next thing you do want to do is understand, we're saying don't market to all of those people that fit into that category. Go get all of that data, right? And this is where people mess up. They do get all that data. They go buy all the lists they're told to buy, and then they market to all of those. That's where the mistake is made. You should go get all of that data. You should get what I call the clean set of data, right? So if it's a divorce, I want every divorce that fits that property avatar, right? If it's a foreclosure, I want every foreclosure. I don't want to put any other filters on it except for maybe the house particulars, right? But that's it. Then when I have that data set, and whether you do this on yourself through Excel or other things, or you use our list stacking tool, you literally can put all that into a system that now can identify across all these different lists and data sets the commonalities. That's the quote unquote artificial intelligence of it, right? And that's where you're going to see, once all that's cross-referenced and it's eliminating all the crossover data, it's more importantly identifying who has multiple of these points going after them. Not only are they going through divorce, but they have a tax default, foreclosure, and they don't live in the house, right? That's 4 pain points all at one. Very high likelihood they're going to want to sell me that house at a discount. Or on the listing side, just went through a divorce. It's in my property price range list, and it's I'm trying to think on the listing side, another point that's not necessarily pain, but has a higher value, right? They might have a little bit of equity, and they have multiple of those points. When you identify that's, I can tell you from doing over 100 million property addresses in our database, that roughly about, on average across the country, it's about 10% of all the data you get. So if you start with 500,000 property addresses from multiple different list sources or data providers, you will end up with about 50,000 people out of that you should actually market to, not the 500,000 you started with. Okay. That's it. It's just getting very clear on those things, letting the data stacking do what it does, and then only going after the 2 or more, 3 or more pain points that have combined together through that.
Perfect. Gary, I want you to get into talking about the lead follow-up process in a minute. I do have a follow-up though for you, Robert, for everyone listening to everything you just shared, which is fascinating. And it's a lot, probably sounds a lot scarier than it needs to. What is the support that Real Estate Investor provides to the agent that says, I don't have the time to sort all this data or, figure out which lists to stack? Is that something that you guys do for the agent?
Yes. And that's actually probably one of our best services, that if you're at that level and you're just looking to get out of the way, we have done for you services, right? Your organization uses that, Clint uses that in the team, where we do that for you, right? So you can do all that work, you can buy the tool and the resource that does it, or we also have done for you, because we know we have a lot of agents and investors who just don't want to do all of what I just said. Yep. And they just have us do it for them. So we absolutely do that and provide that service as well.
Perfect. And real quick, for those listening, we have negotiated some amazing discounts for you. If you go out to realestateinvestor.com, you can look into all the different product offerings that they have. Be sure to let them know you heard this podcast and reference ERS, or you can just simply go out to jeffsfavoritetools.com, and we've provided you our affiliate link there so you can take advantage of all the amazing discounts that they've made available to you. All right, Gary, process wise, you had said something about callers following up. And this was the kind of a funny mention, because I know for a time we were using 1,000 calls a day as your phone ninjas. And when you and I met the first time, or at least thought we had met the first time, I looked you up in my Gmail, and I've never deleted an email since I graduated college in 2006. And your name popped up, and we had actually recorded a podcast together. And that had been like a year previous to us meeting in person, which was pretty funny. But share with the audience a little bit about that follow-up process. You mentioned something about they could actually order like letter follow-ups after they've toured a house. It sounded pretty neat.
Yeah. So here's a proven fact, and this is why I love it, because a lot of people just don't do direct mail, as an example. They think that it doesn't work. They'll send out thousands of postcards and then they'll quit. Here is the statistic. 90% of all of the profits, all the listings, all the purchases of houses come after the sixth interaction. And less than 10% of any investor or agent follows up more than twice. So the key, and I know that most people know this, they know you have to follow up, yet they don't do it. Why? Because it's a lot of work. And so having the ability of automating it, and it can't just be text follow-up or phone follow-up. It has to be multi-channel. Another proven fact is if you're just, say, doing phone follow-up, you're only going to reach 25% of your audience. So it has to be multi-channel, which means it has to, leads come in, 90% are going to be after the sixth interaction with that seller. That means text messages, a continuous, well-written, the perfect words for that type of lead. The stage of that lead is really important. So text follow-up, email follow-up. If you use a postcard to get a seller, you should never follow up with postcards. You should always be following up with handwritten letters, personalized letters. And then, of course, the inside sales agent is key. What we're finding is it also takes an average of 6 times to get the seller back on a phone after that first interaction. So that is a lot of dials. There's a huge amount of science to it. Everybody can write this down. You don't have to be an expert at it. This comes from Dan Kennedy, who's the direct response marketing expert. The info products, right, that we're watching, they have the same format, and it's the 6 M's. Let me go through this really quick. It's the market, message, media, multiple, and months. There's an actual formula that has to get right. And if you get any of those wrong, your marketing doesn't work. All right. So market means the data is absolutely, at least 50% of your results come off of the data. The right message to that market. So if you're marketing to empty nesters, it needs to be a different message than if you're going to burned out landlords or people that have possibly recently deceased. So the message is really important. The media of, are we going to be using direct mail? Are we going to be using a cold calling team or a text team, et cetera? So those are really important. The second part is the sales process. So you have marketing that generates the response, and then the sales or inside sales agents to do the, what I call lead mining and refining. So there's a formula. You get it right. It's repeatable. It's measurable. You can usually know in your particular market, how much money do I have to spend? That's the money part of the 6 M's. How much money do I have to spend to get enough results They're going to turn into opportunities to turn into closed profitable deals. And then what's that return on investment? And
Yep.
that's how you guys do it. I know that half of your, it was awesome. I loved it when I was at your last team building event a few months ago. Clint was showing that a little over half of the deals came from our marketing and our team. And I think that's what we're really focused on, is how do we get the most out of our marketing spend?
Yeah.
And so on the follow-up, there's so many little components. The right text message. Let me give you an example. The phone number that goes out on your marketing has to be the same phone number on the text message and the phone team that's actually calling the seller. If they say a different, because of all the spamming that goes along, that phone number is super important. The timing of that text message. For instance, if a seller leaves a voicemail or they respond and then there's an instantaneous, seconds later, a text message goes out, that seller or property owner will know that that's an automated message and actually does more damage than good. So we've actually built into our software. This is why I loved Robert Syfert and the businesses that he built, the software companies that he built in our merger, to be able to there's actually a delay. There's about a 3 or 4 minute delay. So it doesn't look like it's automated. So all those ingredients are how we put the right formula to get the right sellers at the right time with the right message. And the phone team is critical. And you were the one that about 3 years ago, I came to you and said, I want to build a world-class inside sales team that can actually do this for our client base. It's the biggest hole. And it was when you connected me with Jessica at 1,000 calls a day, and they've done fantastic. I think we've done about 4.5 million outbound seller calls, scripted. One of the things that we found, I'll tell all the audience, if anybody's using an inside sales agent offshore, one of the best things is when a seller calls and the seller asks, where are you calling from? We've scripted our team to say, I'm actually calling from the Philippines. Jeff Cohn, or insert your name, hired me so they could pay higher prices for houses. And we have 100% stick rate. The sellers love it. And so that's the value of being able to not just try to hire one person and train them and manage them, right? We're real estate professionals. But by having a group and doing millions of these calls, we can get a better price, a better result, and a very happy seller, and keep us all loaded with opportunities, because it's not about leads, it's about the opportunities. And that's a big misconception for most agents and investors.
I love everything you said. Nothing I can disagree with. We've generated in the last 10 years over 1 million visitors to our website that were paid for by lender and vendor partners through our marketing service agreements. And it generated 100,000 leads. Out of the 100,000 leads, we've converted about 2.5% of those leads, which is a total of 2,500 units for $17 million in gross commission, of which I've kept 50%. And in my residential real estate business, I have figured that it costs around $500 to make $3,000 net if you're the one generating the lead. If someone else is paying for it, I'll say it a different way. If I'm paying for it, it costs $500 to get a 5x return and net $2,500. We wanted to come up with the same analytics in our investment business when I partnered with Clint 5 years ago. And after partnering with you, you guys 100% understood this better than we understood this. You said about the 6 touches. We've always believed in 7 touches. So same, we're aligned on that. We believed in different communication methods. And so agents listening, it's not just texting or Facebook messaging or sliding into their DM or sending a letter. It's all of it. And people will respond to different things. And what we've found is we should respond to people based on how they respond to us. But I'd like to share with our audience the results we had working with you over the last 3 years. So our avatar in Omaha is any house between $75,000 and $175,000. We buy and hold, we flip, we do wholesales where we just close and put it on the MLS after only spending like $1,000 to fix it up. And we assign contracts, which is wholesaling, where we never have to close on it. Our goal as an average across all of those methods is a $22,500 return, net return. Right now we're paying with realestateinvestor.com, and we've done hundreds of deals with these guys. We have to spend about $1,000 to go on an appointment. And we have to go on 3 to 4 appointments to put a house under contract. So let's call it 4, worst case scenario. That's $4,000 that we have to spend to make $22,500. 500. So is that a good return? Heck yeah, that's a good return. I'll spend that money all day long. And same thing with lead generation. And we're partnered with Boomtown. We'll spend $10 to get a lead to register. I need 50 leads. That's $500 to make 6,000. And that's 3,000 net to me because I just charge a referral fee. But this is the level of sophistication that you have to have in your business, both on the residential side and the investor side, if you expect to scale. If you want to stay the same size you were at last year and you're happy and you have your job is showing, selling, maybe buying a couple investment properties, then you're great. But if you want to partner with an amazing team of sophistication and they have skip tracing, obviously, like all the things Robert shared with us, you have callers that are calling for you instead of you relying on your agents who aren't going to make the calls. We all know they'll make the 1 to 2 calls, but that's where it's going to end. You put people on drip emails that just send out a drip and it doesn't send a letter follow-up handwritten, making people feel special, like they're not just a cog in the wheel. They're not just it's not a robot staying in touch. Real Estate Investor has figured it out. And that's why Clint and I continue to use you guys. You're doing an awesome job. So any closing remarks or thoughts after all of the things we've covered so far?
I do. You are one of the innovators of the hybrid agent, and I will tell everybody, been doing this full time since 2004. I was a broker, or I was a licensed agent for 18 years, starting in 1987. And what you guys are doing in Omaha, Jeff, is incredible. The hybrid model is working, and that's why I'm so, I love coming to your live events. Your last live event, I walked away after doing a decade of our own live events. I had so many takeaways. You run really the most amazing event, the most connection of people getting value and interacting and lifelong relationships. But I want to talk about this hybrid model because the people that really get this, where you can, real estate investors are typically not trained salespeople. They're not solution-oriented salespeople, and agents are. Agents are trained, and so what I'm going to share when I come out and I'm actually at your next live event with Robert is actually how to compete and beat the investor. I don't do this very often, but I'm going to give everybody the mindset of an investor and then how you can actually win every time. Because you can offer, typically the investor can only offer lower cash, all cash offers. In fact, that's the majority, unless you know how to do creative deals, which I will also share, and Clint and I will share how that model works. But it's really the ability of coming in and saying, gosh, Mr. Seller, I can give you a cash offer for the house right now. And that could either be you for your business. You could wholesale it, or you could have a cash buyer in your market, or I could actually do one of these different types of listings, or possibly even, buy it creatively. And so with that model, what I'm seeing in our real estate community, the hybrid agents that are using realestateinvestor.com, whereas an investor might pick up 3 deals, in the same market, the hybrid agent will get 5. They'll typically get three properties that they're going to list, and they're going to get 2 deals that they're going to actually buy for their portfolio or assign. And typically on the investor side, they're making a lot more money than agents. And so I will be sharing that at the live event. I know we'll be having panel discussions, but I'm going to talk about how to beat the investor, which is a big part of the competitive matrix out there, and then also how to compete and beat the iBuyer platforms every single time. So, because we've got the model already, and so I love sharing it at your live event.
I know everyone wants to take advantage of that knowledge, and we appreciate you guys again coming out in May. The dates are May 17th, 18th, and 19th, 2021, downtown Omaha, Nebraska. We have a brand new Marriott Capital District location. It's a beautiful facility. We have a lot of fun events planned in the evening hours. And Gary made a great point. One of the things he and I have found by masterminding with top people all over the country is the events are fine. You get content. It's just like any other event. What makes our events unique is all the time we spend in between the sessions, both at the event and after hours. So we will be there the whole time. We're not sellout events where you only see our faces for 5 minutes and then the rest of the time you're with our people. We are the people. We are on the ground with you the whole time. I'll go as late as anyone else can last. I'll get up as early to do my workout, CrossFit workout with you as early as you can get up. We go hard and we have a great time. I see Robert right now, for those watching the video, has his hashtag 75 hard shirt on. Are you in the process of hitting your 75 days, Robert, or have you already done it?
I did it twice in 2020, so I've completed 75 hard 2 times already.
Nice. I've got my hashtag 365 hard shirt on today, if you're not watching. It just says kidding. But I am doing keto till my birthday. I turned 40 November 27th. So here's me putting it out there in the world. Keto diet, for those that don't know it, is eliminating grains and sugar. Until my birthday, I'm going to hit my goal weight of 220 pounds. So today I was at 303. Started 2021 at 330 pounds, which is a record high for me. So very excited for my journey. So if anyone wants to give a shout out to me to help support me in that, I would love it. You can drop me a DM at Jeff M. Cohn, post something to social, or just text me if you've got my phone number. Robert and Gary, what is the best way for our audience members to reach out, to find out more, to find out pricing, to look at this as a way to help generate leads for the traditional real estate sales, as well as potential investment leads for that hybrid agent?
Yeah, just realestateinvestor.com. Right when you land on the page, we just relaunched the website to make it very simple and clear. There's really 3 paths you can go down. They're clearly identified right on the front page. Whatever's a fit for the need you have, you literally click on that. It'll walk you through either setting up a call with the team or going right into the software, for example, signing up online. So whatever you need, it's right there at realestateinvestor.com, right on the front page.
Pretty simple. Be sure to let them know you heard the podcast with Elite Real Estate Systems or the code ERS to get some type of amazing discount. We use them. I tell everyone I'm not a sellout host of the podcast. I'm not a sellout coaching company where we pitch product we don't use. Anything we ever talk about, it's something we've not only used, but we've had success using it. And I don't know anyone better to partner with than Gary and Robert. These guys are passionate about their business. They're fun to hang out with. They do an amazing job. The level of sophistication, you guys, is unreal. So really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Of course, if you haven't already, please go out and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Our goal is to get over to 1,000 reviews this year. So give us a 5-star and give a shout out to Gary and Robert for the awesome value that they brought to the podcast today. And then last but not least, get your ticket for the Team Building Summit. These guys are going to be on stage. You're going to get to hang out with them after hours and pick their brains and drive them crazy as much as you want. They're going to be there for you. Go out to theteambuildingsummit.com or eliterealestatesystems.com and click on events. Appreciate you guys coming on the show today.
Thanks for having us. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was awesome, Jeff. Looking forward to seeing you. I actually see Clint in Mexico shortly. So
I know it's coming up. Enjoy Mexico, man. It's awesome. All right, guys. Well, this is a wrap. Really appreciate you coming on. I'm sure we'll have you on again here not too long from now.